They have decided exactly when this flu pandemic will hit, September, October, and they have devised that it will be very deadly. Now, this was reported by Reuters this past week, July 23rd, 2009. The United States has bought 195 million doses of H1N1 vaccine, which has been rushed to be manufactured by such companies as Baxter Pharmaceuticals. And if you've been listening to this broadcast, you know how scary what I just said actually is. Again, Reuters, the United States has bought 195 million doses of H1N1 vaccine. The U.S. government has bought 195 million doses of H1N1 swine flu vaccine for a possible autumn vaccination campaign, a U.S. federal official said Thursday. The U.S. Health and Human Services Department has also contracted for 120 million doses of the adjuvant, a compound to stretch the number of doses of vaccine needed, the department's Dr. Robin Robinson told a meeting of the Food and Drug Administration advisors. Next, St. Louis Business Journal, July 24, 2009, hundreds volunteer for SLU swine flu vaccine study. And we question how dumb the American people must be. St. Louis University has received 500 calls from people interested in volunteering to try the new swine flu vaccine. I guess that is called natural selection. We haven't got this many calls on a study since our smallpox vaccine search post-September 11th, said Nancy Solomon, a university spokeswoman. SOU Center for Vaccine Development is among 8 sites picked to help develop a vaccine for the swine flu, officially called H1N1 influenza. The government wants several thousand volunteers nationwide to test the flu shot. Next, 12,000 U.S. children to be swine flu vaccine guinea pigs. And this is reported by the Oklahoman. Around 12,000 U.S. citizens will be U.S. children will be used as guinea pigs for an experimental swine flu vaccine known to contain the dangerous ingredients squalene, which has been directly linked with cases of Gulf War syndrome and a host of other debilitating diseases. According to the report in the Oklahoman, 12,000 children nationwide will partake in a fast-tracked study to test the side effects of the untested swine flu vaccine in trials set to begin next month. The trials will test the vaccine's effectiveness and whether or not it has negative side effects in patients. If these kids don't have the swine flu, how can it test their effectiveness? Unbelievable. Global research. Now legal immunity for swine flu vaccine makers. Of course, we've got to have that when the mass deaths start after they implement this. The U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services, Kathleen Sebelius, has just signed a decree granting vaccine makers total legal immunity from any lawsuits that result from a new swine flu vaccine. Moreover, the $7 billion U.S. government fast-track program to rush vaccines onto the market in time for autumn flu season is being done without even normal safety testing. We're going to go now to the Telegraph from London. Britain's Home Secretary, swine flu greater threat than terrorism. Swine flu is a greater threat to Britain than terrorism, said Alan Johnson, the Home Secretary. As pregnant women were advised to avoid unnecessary travel, Mr. Johnson insisted that measures were in place to deal with the spread of the virus, but urged people to adhere to good hygiene practices to limit the risk to themselves and others. He said, "We have been preparing for this for a long time. It came actually above terrorism as the threat to this country. So we had the whole COBRA machinery and interagency working. We have gone through simulation exercises where everyone has been involved." So it's not just the United States. Great Britain's doing the same thing because the United States and Great Britain read from the same script. Short news, July 19, 2009. Big Pharma gets legal immunity for flu vaccines. It's another story on the same topic. A report shows that the CDC has reported more than 40,000 Americans that had been confirmed or probable cases. But those are people who sought health care. It's more like 1 million. In 1976, a swine flu virus emerged, and the federal official vaccinated 40 million Americans during a national campaign. Thousands who received the shot filed health claims saying they suffered paralyzing conditions. So each week we report on and update what is transpiring in the swine flu preparations for the mass vaccinations, and I myself each week am surprised, and trust me, if you know me, I am not easily surprised. Brian, we're headed toward this. The government is getting prepared. It makes absolutely no sense. I don't know where they get these numbers from. I, for one, know no one that has the swine flu unless the four of us in here coughing all have it and they're unaware. Is that what's taking place? Does everyone have the swine flu and don't know it? Or is everyone going to get it this fall? Is it by design? What is going on?
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of people that actually have had it and didn't even know it. That's been reported as well.
That's been reported, and it attacks, as we've said many times, it attacks the strong, not the weak, the young, not the old. This virus makes no sense, but somewhere someone has been able to foretell the future and knows when it's going to hit, how many it's going to hit, and how severe it's going to be, and the government is allocating billions to prepare for the mass vaccination. The dizziness. Yeah, some people are reporting to have a bizarre dizziness, and we know some that's had that. I don't know if that's a case of the swine flu or not. Here in this area, I don't know of one confirmed case where someone has said they actually knew someone in the hospital, whatever, with swine flu. So it looks to me like it's being propagated by the news media, blown out of proportion.
The only one I know of that is said to have had it was that guy from the Harry Potter movie that was on. Yeah,
and as we were talking with Jim earlier, what's going to happen is when they come out with this vaccination, they're going to say there's a shortage. They don't have enough to go around to increase the pressure on everyone, incite a panic, so that they will run down, fight, pushing people out of the way to get their swine flu vaccination. Ms. Fox, I was surprised last week. Ms. Fox, she said she would not advocate anyone to get it.
That's our congressional representative here, folks, in Washington. She said she's not getting it.
Yeah, she gave some good advice. I'd absolutely not get it because in my short history on this earth, I've not found the government to ever be the solution. I seem to find them to always be the problem. And if they're dispensing a vaccine, I'm not going to trust it, you know. So this was your weekly swine flu update, which we will be doing each week all the way up till either this disappears or the mass vaccinations are taking place downtown while we're here saying, please don't go. We got just a couple minutes before we go to break. Brian, your thoughts on that?
I like the point you brought up, natural selection. I mean, maybe this is just a modern day version of that.
I'll volunteer to take this shot that we know not what it does to who, and I don't have the flu. Give it to me. Who does that? Unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't care that the pharmaceuticals have complete immunity over anything that happens to me. Yeah, that doesn't disturb me in the least bit. Yeah, I'll take it.
Well, what happened to, growing up, I used to watch stuff on TV, and they would test stuff on mice and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're skipping all that, going straight to the humans, We'll get these people to come in. We'll test it on them. Some of them die. We'll see if they're paralyzed or whatever. We don't know what it's going to do. That's what testing's for. It said to find out the effects. Unreal. And I've not seen any of this. All this I reported today, I've saw very little of this in the mainstream press. That one report on Yahoo was the only one. If you call Yahoo mainstream, I guess you would.
And that was even AP, this one, 40%.
Yeah, that's AP. I mean, but they put it on the website, AP or Reuters. But then when you watch CNN or whatever, if they do mention it, it's 30 seconds and it's done, and then, they talk about
Michael
Jackson's hair on fire, or, stuff like that is meaningless when the situation our country is in. We've got just a couple minutes before we go to break. We're going to do a series. We're going to do a series coming up. We're not exactly sure when it starts. On Are We Under the War Powers Act? Has the Constitution been suspended? We will give you more information on that soon. We're going to break. You're listening to Fair and Brian on The Real News. We are back on The Real News Radio, Fair and Brian. Next hour, our guest will be Doyle Shamley, Hour of the Time, co-host with the author, researcher, Mr. Bill Cooper, the late Bill Cooper. I think you'll find that interesting. The rest of this hour, we're going to continue with the news.
We go into some economic news here. Actually, it's kind of depressing, but I suppose that's rather redundant.